I love books that have to do with magic and the Fae, and so the book we're going to talk about today, that totally rhymed. Not on purpose. The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Parry. This is a dark academia book that takes place in the 1920s, and it follows the story of our main character, Clover Hill, who is a farmer girl, grew up in kind of a poor family, doesn't know at this point in time that magic exists until one day her brother had gone off to war. When he came home, it turns out he was hit by a fairy curse, and that fairy curse has part of his body that's starting to turn to like bark. He was hit by the curse of a dryad. The man who that he served with, this guy Sam comes from one of the magical families, and so there's like this whole kind of almost like caste system. Like the wealthy families keep magic as a secret for themselves and they don't share it and don't want to tell anybody and whatnot. So, but Sam actually saved her brother's life and fought for him to have his freedom to go back home. And so he comes home, and then Clover, after talking to Sam, is like, how can I learn this? I want to learn magic. I want to possibly try to heal my brother and reverse this curse and whatnot. And so this sparks a whole thing where she finds out there's scholarships that they do offer, but she would have to do better than anyone else to get in. And so Sam introduces her to this witch that lives kind of near her so she can go learn and start to train. And so she does that, and she throws herself into it like wholeheartedly. And she passes the exams and does amazing, and she makes it into the school Camford. It's like no one really knows where it is, and you go through a door in different areas, and then all of a sudden you're there, like magically. And no one really knows how those doors got there or how they built them, and they say the knowledge is lost and all that. Da 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 da. Okay, so with what happened in the war, where someone summoned a fairy on the battlefield and then it went crazy and like killed a bunch of people, and his brother was one of 3 people who actually survived. Fairy magic is now illegal, so she can't study it in school, at least under teachers or letting anyone know that that's what she's doing. But of course, she's still going to try to find that knowledge and do whatever she can to try and save her brother from this curse. When she gets to school, everyone, when they find out who she is, they call her the scholarship witch, and they all look down their snooty noses at her because they're, wealthy families, and this is a peasant or whatever because she's a poor farm girl. Eventually, she just spends all her time in the library, and she reads this one author, last name is Agrippa. One day, this guy, Alden Lennox, approaches her and is like, "What are you reading?" And she tells him. And then he takes an interest in her because he is also interested in fairy and fairy curses and whatnot. But he doesn't really tell her this initially. And he brings her into his group, and she meets this other girl, Hero, who goes to school. And there's like only 10 females, too, that go to this whole college because it's the 20s and they don't want to allow females in and whatnot. So there's a whole like thing with like caste systems and wealthy people looking down their noses at the poor or whatever. And so you have that going on. I mean, like fantasy, it's political. There's always those underlying themes and stuff. And so anyways, she gets pulled into this group. She meets Hero, the other female scholar, one of the few that are there. And then there's this other guy too, Edward Gaskell. And he is kind of reserved and doesn't really like people a whole lot, but he takes a liking to Clover immediately. And these people become like fast friends. Clover finds this really great bond with them. And eventually she finds out that Alden had a brother that was supposed to go to war. And if you don't want any spoilers, now is the time to turn back, close your ears, don't listen. He had a brother that was supposed to go to war, but he was also jealous of his brother. The brother, before he was supposed to go to war, he just like disappeared. And that was because when Alden was 12, he opened up a door to Faerie, and his brother was taken by a fairy. And so his brother has been in Faerie ever since. But, as he's gotten older, guilt, he feels bad, and he wants his brother back. So he has also been delving into stuff about Faerie and how to open the fairy doors safely without, what happened on the battlefield with the fairy curses and all that coming to fruition. But here's the thing too, like the fairy that came through was a dryad. And this is a big deal because usually they don't come through or even care or want anything to do with humans because they just want to stay by their tree and whatever. Usually it's other fairies that want to do like mischief and be tricksters. But this one's murderous and hates humans and is trying to break through again. Obviously, they're not supposed to do anything that has to do with the Fae, but here and there, there'll be like a teacher who may say something that like gives them hints or tips them off to stuff. And then they start trying to do this stuff on their own. And at first, it's just Clover and Alden because Hero doesn't want to get in trouble. I guess maybe Alden just didn't think Eddie would be into it because he always overlooks Eddie a bit. And Alden's kind of like this really beautiful guy from this super rich family. And like he's used to people kind of like doing what he wants. And unless they cross him, he's always said he wasn't a good person per se. So he gets them into stuff that maybe they shouldn't be doing. So they start trying to like open a door to Faerie, but like do it in a safe way. And so they practice it with like smaller doors, like what they call imp windows, until they can do it well. And eventually they're going to work up to tell Hero and Eddie to try to open a door, to trap a fairy, to try and bargain, to cure Clover's brother's curse, and maybe if his brother's still alive, try to get his brother back. They're going to try to do this to see if they can save the two different brothers. What will happen? Will things go wrong? Will someone be a backstabber? Maybe. I feel like a lot of these stories, it goes that way. And it was really good. I really like this book, and I put off reading it for a while. I had it in the pile, and then I got it from the library. So the whole date was coming up, so I was like, oh, well, we'll start it and see. And then I started reading, and I couldn't put it down. Like after the first couple chapters, I was hooked. It had me. Great dark academia fantasy. Honestly, one of the better ones that I've read recently. I don't read a lot of dark academia. And I feel like the ones I've read I thought were like okay, but I thought this one was pretty fantastic. Like the writing was just gripping and addictive. The story was really good. I like the characters, the ups and downs and the weird stuff that happens. Just how it all comes together in the end. Yeah, if you like dark academia, if you like fantasy, if you like stories that have to do with the Fae, it is pretty fantastic. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.